Hey there, it's October 25th, Sunday. We're even doing a podcast and a video on Sunday. You know why? Because I think that's the key. Every day we can be inspired by something. And if we have a purpose, we want to be on top of it every day. Today I read the Boston Globe, Sunday edition, of course, and the New York Times as well. No Wall Street Journal on Sunday. Here are some inspirational stories from the Boston Globe. Here's one about a Frank Zappa documentary. I love Frank Zappa. His music is colorful and genius, and he was awesome. I really miss Frank. So that's something to be inspired about. Something I really respect a lot is Matthew McConaughey. You know, he started as like the surfer dude, jock, handsome rom-com guy. And really, he became such a great actor. Some of the great movies and performances, some of my favorite performances were by him in his later pictures. Awesome, talented guy. I love his attitude. You know, he's just real, authentic. He's a good, I think, a model for me. Matthew McConaughey. I always like the Bibliophiles edition of the Globe, where it basically interviews a novelist and asks them, what are they reading? What's on their bedstand? An article about Deval Patrick interview, and it's saying some of the things that he wanted to do. And I just thought it was kind of interesting the way he focused on the Berkshires, the western part of Massachusetts. That's very beautiful. And how he likes Cuban cigars. I kind of have this secret desire to try cigar, especially a Cuban. I love Cuba. I'd love to go to Cuba someday. I love the look of it. I love the music, the food, the drinks. So a couple little inspiring things there. Found an article about, it's like a bed and breakfast in Rhode Island. And I just like how it's really a family or a couple, older couple maybe, that creates their house. And then they just fill it with stuff that they love, and then they want to connect with their customers. And it's strangers that come into your house, and they also enjoy this. And they talk about Johnny cakes, I guess that's pancakes, and all the fancy food that they make, and cherry stone clams. It just sounded really neat. An article about how to stick up for yourself and being self-assured. It's basically about taking someone, if someone gives you a nickname or something, like in politics, then you flip it back on them. And it's this technique that they describe here. And Robert Cialdini is listed here, and he's one of the great masters of influence, that he is an expert on persuasion and influence. He's got a lot of groundbreaking books. So I thought this was pretty cool. They called it poison parasite defense. That's what researchers call it, when you harness the power of associative memory, when you turn back something that someone said about you that's negative and flip back on them. So that's empowering. Article about a program that teaches kids that are in low-income backgrounds about math and technology related fields. So STEM opportunities, and it's called Kids in Tech, Lowell, Massachusetts, a nonprofit. And an obituary about a woman named Patricia Warner, who was a spy, unlikely spy in World War II for the US. I love hearing about spies. That's awesome. And so she was getting the inside scoop. She was working as a secretary, but she was listening to everything, playing it cool, which led her to hanging out with flamenco dancers who were very involved with German activities. And she signed up for flamenco dancing and got more of the scoop. She also said something interesting too, she was a sister of a developmentally challenged brother, and how that colored her whole life, changed her life, that one thing. And I always think that's inspiring too. She didn't like the pomp and circumstance, her son said. She just was interested in interesting people. Love that. Now on to the New York Times. an article saying art finds a way. Even in the darkest of times, art endures and inspires. And that is no less true now as the pandemic upends human existence. So what role is art going to play to help us get out of this mess? Here's a little clip. Few things are as satisfying as uncovering a hard gem of truth in the shifting sands of opinion, politics, and legend. And I love that, with self-purpose, a lot of it is moving inward and discovering about yourself and what you really want to do. What are your passions? And this idea of discovering a hard gem of truth in yourself, powerful. A listing of horror works of fiction related to all the 50 states. So like The Shining from Stephen King is listed with Colorado because that's one of the places they filmed. So pretty interesting. All the different 50 states and a book, horror book from each. An article in the New York Times Magazine about Sigourney Weaver. I spoke about the movie Alien yesterday. Love that movie, one of my all-time favorites. And she's just awesome. I love Sigourney Weaver. She's tough, she's strong. She has a beautiful way of speaking. Like her rhythm, it's just very smooth. I also realized, I learned recently that Meryl Streep was actually up for the role of Ripley in Alien. But she was busy, or she had another project, so Sigourney had to take it. And of course, it changed her career. Here's an advertisement about Mont Blanc pens. The fancy fountain pens. Spike Lee loves to use his Mont Blanc pen. I'd like to get one of them. I love the idea of writing a pen and paper person over computer any day of the week because it connects with your creativity. It connects with your body. It's real. Here's an article about a guy who's a painter and a very curious fellow. I'm always interested in hearing the inside scoop of a painter's life and how he stays up till 3 a.m. researching and thinking, and then he wakes up at 9:30 in the morning, and he talks about how it's most difficult to start a new piece where he has to really brainstorm a lot and do some heavy thinking and brainstorming, questioning, like what would be relevant for me to do? What could be interesting? What could be important? What could be meaningful? All excellent questions. And the idea of asking quality questions every day is a great exercise. Every day, take 5 minutes and just list as many great questions as you can. Also, another exercise in my book, All the Hats We Wear, is to brainstorm, make a habit of brainstorming once a week, quality questions for all of your roles and your goals and your mission. Just set the timer and just ask as many great questions as you can. There's a difference between quality questions and crappy questions. A crappy question might be, why am I so broke? Or why does this always happen to me, in a negative tone? Whereas an empowering question might be, who could be my dream mentor? What would be my best day? What's a habit that I can start that will really make a difference? Those are good questions. He talked about his first piece when he was 7 years old, and he had to talk, they all had to do a piece of art about their summer vacation, and he, for some reason, was fascinated with the garbage men. So he did an all intricate thing about the garbage men. Story of a woman who was a law student, married a man who was incarcerated, and was he convicted of murder? Yes, convicted of murder, and she married him in the prison. Fascinating. Here's a story about a woman who's Lebanese and how she really focuses on cooking and how her cooking connects her to her Lebanese identity. And that's one thing I explore also in the book, is how a nationality could also be a role. And that's an important part of her as a person. So she needs to stay connected with it and can have it continue to grow. Some tips on how to really listen to your family members during the pandemic challenges. article about galas and how you can also now participate virtually with some of the big galas. The black tie fundraisers have moved online, offering low price and free tickets. I'm definitely into that. As I've said in a few previous broadcasts, I love galas and I love the whole idea of people getting dressed up for an important cause and all the fancy things that go with it. And the fact that you're a philanthropist, you're a giver, you're able to do good things. That's going to feel good too. A little part about people that wrote in their diary excerpts, Dear Diary, from a lot of different types of people. Always interesting. Little thing about the Dodgers manager, who is he's a thinker, and he has his little blue notebook and he just scribbles plans while he's in the dugout. So we'll see who wins the World Series. They're in the middle of that now. This is it's inspirational, but it's also very sad about Keith Jarrett. Had multiple strokes and basically took his ability to play piano away. I mean, this was one of the most influential, well, he is one of the most influential jazz pianists in classical in history. And the saddest part I found, the most touching part, was when he says, I don't know what my future is supposed to be like. He said, I don't feel right now like I'm a pianist. That's all I can say about that. So he really couldn't even talk about it. And being a pianist is such a core part of who he is. You know, when he doesn't have the ability, he doesn't feel that whole chunk of him is missing. And that's horrendous. And I like how the New York Times has a little kids section too. Teenagers could go through, so how to become president. And it goes through a lot of different, you know, how would you create your own platform and what are the challenges and what do you need to know? And so that's pretty cool too. So those are some inspirational stories from the news for today, October 25th, Sunday, 2020. If you want more information about my life coaching and my productivity expert work, check out my website, allthehatswewear.com, and connect with me on social. I'm on all the different social platforms, and I've got a podcast as well. So contact me, say hi, and tell me some of your biggest time management challenges, and we can work together. You can create a plan to reach your potential and do what you want to do with your life. Thanks for your time.